just thank God for where we started from, where we are now. It's a lonely road for indie filmmakers, right? But still, we thank God for where we are. My name is Moses Ipadeola. I'm a filmmaker and I'm a visual artist as well.
Let's touch a bit on your background because you went to the University of Ibadan for theatre arts,
Yes.
and that's already deciding to study theatre arts in university is already a commitment. Was that when you decided that filmmaking was for you, or has it always been part
Mm. So I don't think no one has asked me that question that way before. That was a good one. So my first love was always visual art, fine art. Funny enough, I don't think I've shared this story that much before. So I wrote my jam at the time where you had to write the UME first, then you would do the PCE. So I was hoping I was just praying. I can't remember how fervently I was praying, but I was just hoping I failed UME so that I could then proceed to do PCE so that I could go into Yaba Tech for visual arts, right? Because I didn't even know the value of the schools I was entering at the time. I was just fresh out of secondary school into the institution. So then I did UI. So many negative comments. So you didn't get certain credits. They won't get you. I'm like, this is where God wants me to be. I will be there. So let's just when I get to that bridge, I'll cross it. Then I got theater art. I didn't know jack shit about theater art. No one in my lineage studied anything close to that or anything art related at all. So I didn't know. I was just going in as a fresh horn. So then I experienced while trying to register, while trying to locate my examination hall, my interview hall at the time, then I need to do a shout out here. Then I saw two persons rehearsing. Opeyemi Dada, Ope Dada is a fantastic actor and most times first assistant director lately. And Dozien Bata, they were rehearsing a two-man play backstage at the time. Fresh out, or you didn't know what theater was about. You hadn't even gotten in at the time. Then I saw these guys and I was like, okay, and I checked the name on the inscription on the wall, theater arts, Department of Theater Art. I'm like, okay, this is it. Is this going to go out? Because I never imagined myself being on screen or even doing that. So it started coming in. So I'm just trying to let you know how it started. I didn't know anything. So it was there. Then I started seeing my environment. I did my initiation. That's like your induction into theater arts. Then I fell in love with theater arts because I got lucky enough to have been noticed by one of my life mentors, one of my mentors, Tunde Awosomi, Dr. Tunde Awosomi. So he took me quite early from University of Ibadan, Department of Theatre Arts. So he took me quite early. I wouldn't know what he saw in me, but he saw something in me from first year, and he wanted me to start taking certain responsibilities, understudying him. That meant you had to be studious. That meant you had to research a lot. You had to focus. So gradually, then my friends, my peers, Temi Fosudo, Chuku Martin, my classmates at the time, Chuku Martin, Chris Ayanya, Sholanke Adeleke, lots of them. And those are, we entered together, Okpedada and Ojewale and likes, right? So we started growing, we started learning. I started picking one or two from these guys. Some of these guys went to really cool, primary schools. They knew literature a lot. And I started picking interest. I started learning classes. Then it was just theater art for those 4 years. But it's always been film because you grew up on TV. We grew up on TV. You've always seen, I'd consumed Pirates of the Caribbean, the trilogy at the time before I entered uni, which happens to be one of my favorite films of all time anyway. And films. I started seeing Tunde Kelani's films before I entered theater. I didn't have the orientation. Nobody to tell me in the house at the time that, see, if you're going to be a Tunde Kelani, you're going to be, you know, a Martin Scorsese, if there was anyone who knew that name at the time in my household at the time, that this is the right direction to go. So I just found myself there learning, growing, learning, trying out stuff, doing directing projects, taking on tedious responsibilities, wanting more, and then I started putting a little bit of culture in all of the things that I did at the time. Any opportunity I had, I just wanted to blow things up. I just wanted to be unorthodox at the time. Then final year came, I did my final year play, which was a full Shakespearean play, Julius Caesar, the tragedy of Julius Caesar, did that full play. The whole play, the whole the 3 acts. And there's this Nollywood Yoruba director who now came to see the play, also now saw the play and was like, okay, came to me after the performance to say, you directed that, what's not, okay, I would like you to come do an assistant director job on my project. Nice to have you on board. And that was my first introduction to the external world of filmmaking. There was opportunity to do media and film studies in theater art as a course, certain courses from your third year to the fourth year, but I didn't really take it seriously. I was more focused on the theatrical side of what I was studying, which was just stage productions at the same time, all of these things. But what I didn't know was God was setting me up for filmmaking in a way. Then this guy came, I went to his first set. That was the first time I actually saw people do it for real. That intimate moment with a director on set, and the camera and actors, you had a couple of veterans too on that set. So it was like an epiphany from that point that then I'm moving in the right direction. And I like organic growth and organic movements. So I kept moving in that direction. Then crowd. I said crowd. Then tribe. My tribesmen, I've always moved from my first year with the same guys. I've always been rolling with them. They are crazy guys. They motivate me to do more. They teach me without even knowing they teach me. I learn from them. They share reels. So we learn. We've been growing together. We've been wanting more together. We've been dragging ourselves together. We've been critiquing films. We've been, one way or the other, we just kind of aligned ourselves to the kind of films we want to see globally, kind of films we want to make. And then that's it. Then I shot my first short film in 2019, which was Ifa Therapy at the time. My first attempt, at a short film properly directed by myself, which was Ifa Therapy, which I still also wanted to put myself in it because that was the uniqueness that I could bring, that was a new thing I could bring to the world. Everyone is doing it. Everyone will do it, but you just have to find your own uniqueness. Yes. So from that experience, I went to NYSC. Then, fresh out of NYSC, I got the opportunity to direct my first TV show, a Yoruba TV show, Awala Dunde, at the time. So I directed 13 episodes. Not many people know that as well. So I directed 13 episodes off the 26 episodes at the time, just fresh out of uni. And from there, I've just been wanting more, researching, reading, following the right tribes, film rats, my film clubs, and, just read people around me, people that I see doing things. I just want to learn. So yeah, it's basically been like that for me, my delve into film. Each work in this filmography, as it were, right, must have come about at a point in life, at the phase of your life. So which would also culminate into all of those things you put into each of the work, right? So definitely all of those experiences, pockets of experiences here and there, from one film to another, technical lessons to learn from one project to another. Of course, you don't want to make one mistake twice or thrice. So definitely you're going to keep learning. And then you take all of those and that's basically what you call experience. I hated it growing up. Sadly, I have to use the words now for younger ones, sadly, in a way, right? So, but that's just life. And it's what I've realized that, at some point in life, as you grow with all of these experiences, and as an indie filmmaker as an artist who is on a mission or who's got goals, and to spotlight his culture, as it were, then you will get to a point where you're not just directing the shot. You're directing principles, you're directing experiences, you're directing lessons, you're directing religious thoughts, feelings, sentiments. And yes, so definitely, what are you directing at that point, if not all of the experiences that you've had over the course of the journey to that point of the film in question or the films in question?
And in your filmography, you put a lot of emphasis on a message. You have a story, but there's always a message to give. How do you decide what message to give us in your stories? Like, what inspires the choices?
Honestly, at this point, before I answer that, I would have to ask you, can you pick a film, and so we even make it more conversational? Can you pick a film and tell me the message? Because honestly, when I get to a phase, because I think I've broken it down mentally for myself that filmmaking has a phase. There are different phases for me. There's a phase where I don't want to do anything. I don't want to read. I just want to think. I just want to flow. I just want to think. I just want to, try and be lazy for a bit. Maybe some stupid dreams would come. If it comes, let me put it there. That's it. It's unthinkable. Then let it go in there. So I will still give it give it room to breathe. So now those three phases or those phases that you've put in your production process, they will also help you back to I'm trying to connect that to the question again. I get lost in the technique when I get to that immersive phase where I just think and do a bit of ideation still. I'm thinking techniques. I don't even know if there is a message. So I'm already thinking style. I'm thinking how do I pass it there to the point that I don't even know if there is a message. I just want to be that instrument that tells a complete story from start to finish as linear or non-linear as possible and as cohesive as possible. With the help of story mentors, and I've had the opportunity of one of them lately too, and they really help. So I wouldn't know. Could you pick a film? Tell me what message you felt, and I'll tell you if it was deliberate or not.
Pẹ̀lú sùúrù, olówó, ó dọlọ́mọ, ó láya, kò kú léwe, Àkànní, ó ṣe sùúrù. Ifá ló sọ wípé sùúrù ní bàbá ìwà. Ènìyàn tó ní sùúrù, ohun gbogbo ló ní. Àdùgbò, àjàtọ̀, àjàyè, fágbèrè bí ẹni láyé.
Yeah, it was. And you'll be surprised to know that patience, and I like the fact that you use that word patience and you refer to it, and that's so brilliant because you don't understand what that question has just unlocked. Because now I could have made Ifa Therapy was about 20 something minutes long or thereabouts, deliberately too. So firstly, from the philosophical side of things, it meant you have to be patient enough to get that therapy anyway. So if you're not patient enough, then it's not for you, firstly. So you see the links between the emphasis on the patient. So you're right. I think I just answered it. Yeah, so I just get lost in the process that I just don't let it appear that there's a message somewhere because there are other things beyond the message. Because the message also then informs the technique, informs the style, which is art house. Art house films require patience, which is one of the reasons why I chose that genre or that subgenre of film to tell that story. And even when I don't want to use Peter Obi's slang to say I got the advice from a madman. Even when I got a couple of advices to cut it down and say, short film should be punchy and this and that. I was like, this is beyond a short film. I just wanted to create something that would stand the test of time in terms of therapy, something I can therapize myself like it does sometimes. I can always go back to, non-academically or even academically or therapeutically. So patience as a message now helped technique now because it meant that I deliberately now slowed down the pace. I wanted people to render lines some certain way. So patience as a message has now become a philosophy, and a philosophy that rode all through the film. So it meant you had to be patient from the beginning of the film to the end of the film for you to get the therapy. And for you to get the therapy anyway, or any therapy anyway, you have to be patient. You have to be patient enough to get it. And patience is one of the virtues in life as well. So yes, that's basically it.
Because also in that, there's a very heavy theme of mental health. Was that intentional as well? Because also in Ifa Therapy, mental health is also a very big theme of it. Was it mainly the story you were focused on that?
So, like I like to tell myself lately, I think just like every other artist, just like you are as an artist, we are on different journeys. We need to recognize our own journey, our own unique journey. God has a way of favoring me with this thing or having these stories or these flicks falling on my laps, and certain times He wants them to just fall on my laps. Dark came at the point that I just shot Ifa Therapy. It was just pure coincidence. I don't know if people saw that they got inspired. I wouldn't know, but I knew that was my first experience with Olumide Kuti. That's the writer of Dark, who at the time I didn't even see him. At the time, I think I had seen him 2 years prior to that time. And even till now, I still haven't seen Olumide Kuti, and that's in about 10 years. But I'm here to tell you that we've done about 2 films at about 8 years now or so. But I've done 2 of his scripts without him seeing me, without us seeing each other. So he's one of those writers that kind of gets what I want. So coincidentally, that was my first experience with him, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is similar. I can approach it this way, and I can, open it in a way, have the conversation with the DOP and producers. They must have seen my previous work to say, okay, maybe this style can convey this message. And what other ways can we convey the message in a non-elaborate way that we don't lose the message? We don't distract people from the message. So it was just pure coincidence. And it was also because I was in a phase where I was doing a whole lot of research, like I always do. I research a lot. And so all of these materials that I had taken in just helped, and more research. And because the script was just beautiful and it just came to me, and the collaboration was just seamless. And I just had to do me all over again.
You mentioned a while ago that your first love was visual arts. How do you balance the visuals and the aesthetics of your film with the story? Because those are the 2 most important things of the movie, is an audiovisual form, the script and the story itself, and what the people see. How do you balance with so that one doesn't outweigh the other and holds the perfect?
That's a question that is actually so big to answer, but because I'm still young and I'm on a journey, and it's going to be continuous like that, as long as God permits us to still stay on earth. But because I have been consciously trying to take in so many works, I've tried as much as possible to appreciate different works. Theater background, you'll be shocked to know that I have more proses here, more novels than stage plays, that I've read more novels in recent times, in 10 years, than I've read stage plays. So it was a conscious effort to move away from plays, because I wasn't actively doing that medium anymore. At the time, I was doing film. I needed to move to the language of film. If my research as at 2018 told me that over 85% of Nollywood films were products of literature, and that, of course, that percentage would be shared amongst novels, comic books, whatnot, reviews and rumors and what have you now. You feel me? So look at that delve into film, different medium, learning, the tricks to it, so that I don't think because I learned theater arts, then I must be able to do it. I've just learned something great that would help, the performatives of film as a different medium, right? So now visual art, which was why I said earlier that I think my journey, I love the way God is helping me order my journey, to the point that everything I've learned, every phase of my life has an importance, has a connection. There was a point in time, I shouldn't say this, but I mean, in uni, I was doing music for a bit, actively doing music, performing at shows, alongside one or two of your favorite artists right now, but then I had to stay back. I got to a phase where I had to say, now people wanted you to do music, they loved your music. Now I had to decide. Filmmaking is a serious business. I couldn't meddle them. So I went through that phase where I had to say, this is it. I dropped music. It was a hard decision, but I didn't know all of those experiences would still culminate into one piece. So now look at all of those experiences. Now I have to be very conscious. I've been conscious and deliberate enough to not let one outweigh the other. That is what theater has done for me. Theater has helped me to find the soul in each scene, because I learned from some of the best teachers. Even if I had 1 or 2 sessions with the great Femi Oshofiso in 1 or 2 of my classes, but I've had opportunity to learn from really great drama teachers who will teach you the basics. As a theater artist, as a theater director, you must be able to find the soul in the piece first, in the theatrical piece, in the play text, before you uplift it into a theatrical piece. So now you need all of those knowledge. You need that knowledge to study a film script, to study a screenplay rather, to find the soul. What exactly do you want to talk about scene by scene? what exactly is the general philosophy, your general message, as regards the film. Now, look at that experience from theater, the experience of visual science, visual arts, of arrangements, the basics that I learned. Anyway, I did diploma course on theater, on creative, on visual arts, and I'm a visual artist. So I finally chased that dream. Now I have one or two of my paintings in my background too. So I'm actually doing all of these things as best as I can. So now that is where balance and self-consciousness comes to play, because that is the point where you now say, this is a visual medium. You don't want to put too much visuals on people's faces so they don't lose the message. You don't want to bore people too much with the message when they should actually feel the action and feel the need. And I feel like I can only conclude by saying, you don't learn it. I don't think you can learn it. I think you can just grow into it, project after project after project, and actively, don't let me use the word actively, and giving credence to criticisms, to critics in the society, because they are not our enemies. They would help us form our voices as creatives. They help us shape our voice, even in the the harshness of the criticisms. We still need to embrace criticism, because this is some form of criticism here. It would expose the artist. It will show the artist what the artist isn't doing. So with the help of the critics, the help of self-evaluation and self-consciousness, we would find this balance as you journey through your filmmaking voyage in life.
And another thing that I've read is that you place your works in the genres of, I don't know if they're self-created, but of trado fiction, trado realism. How would you describe those genres to someone that's never heard of them before?
Firstly, where did you get that from? Who told you that?
I've read about.
Oh. Yeah. So, firstly, I like to call myself a rebel. I've always liked the idea of being. I don't like being conformed. I like being unorthodox. It bores me when I do things a certain way, and because filmmaking or cinema in Africa can never be as old as cinema in Europe, in France specifically. So that means we have a chance. So that means we don't have definite genres yet or subgenres. We need to. I'm not saying we need to get rid of Eurocentrism completely, because that would be a one-sided talk. You want to get rid of Eurocentrism, you're building a complete film on their structure. So what I just thought of was, rather than just say, no, we are doing this, we don't want Western influence anymore. I just wanted to create an experimental subgenre for myself that I could do whatever the F I wanted to do first. No rules. Let me just get it. I've seen a couple of films, I've read a couple of articles, I watched video essays. I wanted a story. I wanted to tell a story, but I don't think there's an existing genre or subgenre that I could put it at the time, what I wanted to express. I just wanted to express something that would be so close, so, the realism is all up in your faces, yet with minimal budget and minimal resources. So, and it was also at a point where I was doing my master's degree in University of Lagos at the time, theater arts, also creative arts. And I was reading about popular, these our guys, Gertwig, or what's her name now, where she came out from, this recent experimentalist from the US at the time, then Surrealist 16. No, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted something more real, something more intense that brings the message. But it had an existing template, but I didn't know exactly what it was, because I can't deny the fact that it's something close to what, Papa Tunde Kelani does, or he's been doing all, from the 70s down to the 80s. But I just wanted a fresh approach to it that puts me in that line, that puts all of my films, or most of my films, in that subgenre, while I'm still trying to find myself, find a niche for that subgenre, while I'm still on the quest to actually even know what it means. Hence, traditional fiction, trad fiction. It is just a genre of film that allows for, it's a subgenre of film that allows for experiments, of course, and allows for, I'm looking for the word now, the transportation of ideas, of cultures, of folklore from one culture to another without necessarily doing comparisons to say this is greater than that. I'm looking for similarities. I'm looking for similarities in our cultures. I'm looking for similar folklore, similar legends that we can find here. You have Ekun-Iyawo in Nigeria. There are certain myths in Europe that are aligned, that are similar to that. How can I express these stories? How can I bend the genre first in literary form, from the text form of it, before you now get to the visual form of it. And that's how travel fiction came about at the time, and then Chukwu Martin did a reading of my work. I think you should check it out as well. It's one of the most beautifully written piece on me that even opened myself to myself, some parts of my works that I didn't see. He called it Tradox. So he saw the paradox in the work that I never saw. Chukwu Martin saw the paradox in that work that I never saw. And from that point onward, that has become one of my favorite articles of all time, written on me, because he then showed me the possibility of trado realism. He didn't know that at the time, that what I was even doing was more authentic, was even more real, that I couldn't call it trado fiction, but it's even more realistic in nature. But trado fiction at the time was already spreading in our circle. And yes, because also one of the ambitions of trado fiction is to be able to bend genres, leveraging on sci-fi, scientific fiction, and trado fiction. Off the top of my head, just imagine an Oni of Ife traveling into space, and just imagine, a couple of conflicts. I shouldn't say that, but yeah, that's it. Ideas are always there. Imagine all of the conflicts that could happen from Earth to the stratosphere, to the atmosphere, and to the space. These sort of ideas. How can we bend genres? How can we marry these things? And then yes, in a fresh subgenre that everybody can see themselves in, the younger generation can see themselves in, and yeah, that's how these two experiments came about.
I wanted you to briefly touch on the importance of tradition and culture in film, especially in African filmmaking.
Yeah, the importance can never be overemphasized. The importance should be vis-a-vis the reason for setting out to do films in the first place. And I'm not saying everybody should make films that would have people dress traditionally or culturally, but I'm saying this is a culture. I have to go. Let's say I have to go, wake up early in the morning, get to Oshodi, from Oshodi, get to that place, and do that routine over and over again. It's ritualistic. It is exclusive to us as a people. I just wanted, to find a way to authentically tell our stories, authentically show the side of us that people don't see, and then approach it from not necessarily an academic point of view, but from mostly psychological point of view, where you have to now psychoanalyze these characters vis-a-vis, with respect to their sociology, with respect to their culture, with respect to their tradition. And tradition has always been it for me. So the importance can never be overemphasized. We are not Europeans. We must find our own unique voices over and over again, year in, year out. We cannot stop. We'll keep finding it. And who's going to find it for us if not us, right? You can't do a European film better than Wes Anderson. You can't do that symmetry thing better than him. It's unique to him, so we must find our own voices, our traditions, and we have more than enough materials to even dig into that will last us 2 decades, and we've not even started, and more. So the importance can never be overemphasized or underemphasized as well. So it's as important as the reason for setting out to do film in the first place for me. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Wes Anderson, because I actually have a quote for him that I wanted to ask you about. Because he said that the last thing he wants anyone to ever say about is that's just like what you did before. How much do you focus on reinventing your style when you make a new film, when you make a new TV show, when you work on something new? How much of your focus is on reinventing?
I don't want to say not too much or not. There's a balance to it, because I also strongly believe there is beauty in repetition. Sometimes I believe there is beauty in familiarity when people can say, oh, okay, they can easily tell that this is a Wes Anderson film. Okay, but what's he talking about this time? And I think that's where the balance is. Of course, I don't want to do the same film twice, but I can put certain elements that will remind you of what you've seen before. That's how you create a story world for yourself. And especially as a young filmmaker who's trying to carve a niche or bend genres, then you have to do a familiar story world. I know a couple of friends who do that, and I can immediately tell from the first friend that this is a Chuku Martin film, this is a Fadamana film, this is a Taiwo Egunjobi film, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So you would find that you would find yourself doing that similarity, and the same goes for Michael Mann, the same goes for Martin Scorsese, same goes for all of these great names. There's that familiar feel you see even when they are telling a different story. There's that familiar feel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino. Even when it was totally different, he was doing something in the heart of Hollywood at the time, but we're still seeing certain familiarities, blood, techniques, things that I feel like there's a manifesto this person is following. So yeah, I try to find that balance. Basically, I just try to find that balance. Tell something new, surprise you. There has to be something new that surprises you on the next project, but there has to be that one or two elements of familiarity that would remind you that you are in a Moses Ipadeola story world.
I read that you're part of a filmmaking collective called the Masquerade. How important to you is collaboration, especially in the indie film industry in Africa? That is still coming up. How important is it to collaborate with other filmmakers?
Yes, so Masquerade Media came about sometimes in 2019, but this group is made up of friends friends we made from UI, friends from way back, all of us moving towards an artistic goal, that sort of thing, But the good thing is we're all open-minded persons. We are free persons. We are very open to collaborating. We collaborate a lot. In fact, I even feel like we collaborate to a fault silently, but you do not know because there are certain projects you could find 3-4 masquerades on, and it's not even a masquerade production. You just find members of masquerades in it. So we are very, very open to collaborations and co-productions. We are very open-minded people. And we are open to learning. We are open to trying new experiments. Let us risk it all together. We are that group. I feel like that should be the crux of our existence as independent filmmakers, because you need a tribe. We need that collaboration. We have to go alone. I tell my people that same energy that I pump into, that you can pump into tearing yourselves down. I think for once, let's try that energy. Let's collaborate with that same energy. Nothing more, nothing below. That same energy. Bring it into collaborating and let's see amazing pieces we make together. We need ourselves. Most of these legends that we talk about, they've been dragging themselves from ages. They are still here. The ones that are still here are still here. They still make amazing memories and pictures together. So I'm very, very open to to those sort of collaborations, and that's just what we need as independent filmmakers. And in an industry where the audience thirst for new voices, new wave, they've been craving it for a long time. Collaboration is how best we move. I heard somewhere or read somewhere that if you want to go fast in life, I think if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with people, or I say go with like minds, and then collaboration is important for this new wave and as independent filmmakers in Africa. With all these alternative/independent film distribution models that are coming out now, it means you would have more investors coming to the market as well. While they are looking into the mainstream, they're also looking into that alternative market, which is the independent film space. So what it means is more investors come into that market, as seamlessly as possible though, because they won't even really find too much, which is fine. That's the concept of alternative, so that people can experiment, bend genres and all of that. It means you would have more organizations. I don't know if I'm allowed to do a big shout out to British Council, for instance, and British Council Arts in Nigeria, through a program like the Film Lab Africa, which I won the grant for recently. what I've been able to observe is also most of us on the program, I mean, all of us on the program are young independent filmmakers. Most of us doing alternatives like that, independent filmmaking. If you got a grant benefactor of that scale to invest in young filmmakers like that, imagine, and which is also what they do, what they say, they encourage more organizations to come into the space, invest in young filmmakers, the new voices, the new wave. So I already see positivity in that direction. So I estimate, I can't give an estimate, but I already see like serious and more voices coming out couple of years, young filmmakers that many people haven't heard before, but are going to make amazing films in a couple of years. So I see a sensible growth and a very fair growth in the independent film space. Yes.
Each industry has its own hurdles and opportunities. What would you say are
Yeah.
some of the biggest hurdles you've seen in the Nigerian film industry? But what are also some of the opportunities that you feel can be exploited?
So the hurdles, of course, like every other industry, would be finances. Or no, don't let me put it in that order. The first hurdle is the country. We are shooting in a very dangerous and insane country, as it were. So that's a first hurdle you have to wake up to every day, And second hurdle is you're an artist in that insane country. So those two hurdles, I have to like special shout out to them. Then the finances and the financial structures, not having proper loan structures in the country to go to the extreme of things when you need to finance yourself as an independent filmmaker, because there's no structure that ensures, I guess, maybe safe returns of these figures. There's no structure. Everybody just moves. They're saying news everywhere, even from the top. I just read one on the internet recently about the Dubai, the UAE visa being lifted and not being lifted, and the different account being created and all of the rumors around it. However way it is, it's too messy to be heard of. So there's no structure all the way to that point. How do you have a proper structure that caters to easy access of these loans and easy return of this or refunds of these loans? That's from the extreme of things. How do we get in more investors? As independent filmmakers ourselves, we need to put in the work together. I'm still going to, okay, I can link those 2 points anyway. Together with collaboration, we need to collaborate to put in the work. That's another point, to put in the work so that we can assure, find means where we can meet, let arts meet, not necessarily have slapsticks all around them. Let's find a way to make art meet commercial viability so that even when we get all of these investors that we want, we need to assure them that, yes, your ROI is secured and everything is fine. So we must put in the work to find new voices, new ways to entertain. So it's a tedious task we must all undertake. But sadly, we can't do it individually. We have to come together, collaborate as best as we can. So the collaboration part is a big hurdle as well. And there's another one. It's slightly psychological, but I must say it's toxicity. I've noticed a lot of toxicity in the space. People, I've been first assistant director a couple of times, and I've had producers hollered at me to tell me I wasn't shouting at people enough. And I told this person, I said, with due respect, do you think these people are working or not? Have you seen them have any downtime since I took over? I said no. I said I would rather whisper instructions than shout instructions all around this, as long as my space is fine. And I've seen situations where people would rather hire the toxic ADs. I know it happens like that, in most industries, but no, we can change it. And it is what I personally do in my own space. I ensure that the workspace is less toxic. Side talks, I discourage them. I let people go because those things, they build easily like cancer. So it's another thing we must look into. People have PTSDs. They won't talk about this. Hopefully somebody talks about it. Someone with louder voice than mine, or people with louder voices than mine. People have PTSD from work. I've had it a couple of times because I was in toxic workspaces and I just couldn't deal. And the trauma was there. So imagine people living that way. So we trying to change the industry must also change perspective, must also find new ways to work without losing our values as humans. What advice would I give my younger self? Be brave and be fearless. Just be brave and be fearless. Yeah. And everything is achievable. Just put your mind to it and trust God and talk to God and just be fearless. Yeah.